I know I said last episode was my least favorite, but now episode 4 takes the cake as the worst episode. How you gonna show me some She-Hulk nalgas and not give me any this episode? Episode 5 of She-Hulk, you better be green, lean, mean, and
Shake some ass! Spitting bars, chicken honey, some life. Put it
hello, She-Hulk fans. Episode 4 of She-Hulk has now come out. It is time for me to give you my reaction, my breakdown, basically my spoiler review for this episode. I'll be pointing out some Easter eggs you might have missed here and there, talking about whether we think the show is getting better, is it getting worse? And of course, it's not just about my opinion. I really want to hear from you guys out there, because even though I said that in the opening, this actually is my favorite episode thus far, not even joking. I think episode 4 of She-Hulk does exactly what I want the rest of the series to do, to just be some lighthearted MCU fun. This felt like the most purest version of an MCU sitcom where you introduce a little problem at the beginning, it's resolved by the end, there's little things in here to progress the bigger story forward, and I was laughing, I was having fun. I think this was a great episode. I'm gonna be really curious to see some of the backlash involving certain characters like Madison with 2 N's and a Y, but the Y is not where you think, cause it's in my ass. I don't care what anyone says, she was hilarious to me. Top 10 best new introduced MCU characters in most recent years. I want to see more of her and Wongers. But enough of the intro, let's go ahead and dive into episode 4 of She-Hulk. So at the start of this episode, we open up on a magician in LA named Donnie Blaze. Now this character was causing a whole lot of hubbub in the trailers for She-Hulk, because everyone thought that the name was Johnny Blaze in reference to Ghost Rider. But now seeing this episode, we see there is no Ghost Rider reference to be had here, and instead is in reference to this magician that I don't even believe is related to Johnny Blaze. So let's get that out of our minds. But he's your stereotypical show magician that doesn't have a lot of real magic up his hands. Thankfully though, he spent what looks like a summer in Nepal learning from actual sorcerers, to the point that he has his own sling ring, using the drunk guests of his show to do a little magic, endangering their lives. This is then where Wongers comes into play, because he's just chilling in Nepal watching his shows The Sopranos, having to clean up the mess that Donnie Blaze has left behind, enlisting She-Hulk, hoping there could be some legal action to stop him from using his magic. That's the basic gist of this episode, and a lot of the stuff going on here really worked for me. I thought Wong being in here was another great addition. He had me laughing. I really do like the chemistry he has with this Madison character. I think it works kind of well. Like I said, I'm going to be curious to see how some people react to her character, because I know some people might find her annoying or over the top, but to me it was ditzy and charming enough paired up with Wong that I actually liked it. Even when we move over to Jennifer Walters and she's again breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience, knowing exactly how we're feeling.
You look happy. I guess you saw that Wong is back. God, everybody loves Wong. It's like giving the show Twitter armor for a week.
Really think they're getting better at that with each episode. This very much felt like a typical crossover episode you'd find in the comic books. It's two separate characters who need each other's helps, and they come together to try and solve this problem. While the last episode I thought was failing in actually bringing up something plausible in the MCU that made sense, trying to go after a shape-shifting elf from Asgard and prosecuting them, I just had a hard time actually believing the law and actual logistics of that. With here, I thought they brought up some great points, because from the first Doctor Strange movie, we know there's a lot of regular people that go to their temples, study magic, and some of them choose to stay and some of them choose to leave. Donnie Blaze was obviously one of them who did a little bit, decided to leave and take some stuff with him that is obviously dangerous in the wrong hands, and Wong, instead of just showing up, beating some people up, and causing a ruckus, would rather set a legal precedent so that this doesn't happen again. I think that is interesting stuff being thrown into the MCU that works perfectly for what She-Hulk is. She's not trying to save the world superhero style, but if she can make laws or set precedents like this, that's what She-Hulk is all about, or at least Jennifer Walters. There's also a great little Easter egg in this conversation where Jennifer Walters is telling Wongers that they have to throw the book at him, and he mentions the Book of Ashanti, which was actually the book that was in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So again, just little nice connective tissue throughout all these movies. Now before we go further with the Donnie Blaze subplot, there was another subplot going on this episode, and that pertained to the love life of Jennifer Walters and her trying to find a date. If you didn't know, Marvel actually created a She-Hulk Tinder profile, so some of you people out there might have swiped on her, and if you did, you're lucky punks. Some of you were living my dream! If anything, that was the most unbelievable part of this episode. We have wizards, we have demons from other dimensions, but the fact that no male human was attracted to Tatiana Maslany's character of Jennifer Walters, I call BS. But there is someone that sticks out that is kind of interesting from the lineup of dates that might hint to a secret villain we'll see in later episodes. We'll get to that in a sec, because we see Jennifer Walters continue on with this superhero related case to try and stop this amateur magician from using real magic. And to me, this courtroom scene was handled way better and a lot funnier than the elf scene in the previous episode. I thought the humor worked a lot better. I was actually kind of invested to the little bit of legal jargon that was being thrown out there on fake magic versus real magic. Again, I guess we just have to remember this is lighthearted lawyer show. They're not going to go too deep into it, because if you really want to be a stickler about it, Madison being someone who's intoxicated about to take the stand and be a witness, that wouldn't be allowed. She's clearly drunk, but they still let her testimony stand. That's, I think, where some people who can't let go of some of that more seriousness and can't handle some of the jokes going on in Marvel are kind of upset, which I guess I don't blame them, because I would love to see an actual serious version of She-Hulk where it's actual legal cases and they try using some real world strategies in there. But after 4 episodes in, we just got to get used to this is the way things are kind of going to go. It's a comedy show first, then a legal procedural. But getting back to these dates that Jennifer Walters has once she turns into her She-Hulk persona, a lot of these guys are basic duds or interested in her for the weird reasons. Like, one guy's just interested into her muscular strength. Another was a self-absorbed film bro that was more obsessed with talking about himself. But when we move over to John Bass's character, there is something slightly different about him. Now, for those of you who've been watching my channel know I got to see these first 4 episodes weeks ago. And when I first saw it, I really didn't think anything of the John Bass character, who was just kind of this playboy wannabe obsessed with She-Hulk in front of him. But as the weeks went on, there was an interview that came out specifically focusing on this random date that She-Hulk had, which makes me think there's something bigger about this guy. People involved with the show later went on to specify further what his character is. They called him Todd is a billionaire playboy philanthropist douchebag who wants more than anything to feel like Tony Stark, but comes off as John Bass. He is used to get whatever he wants, but he's a total creep who starts popping up everywhere. So it looks like he might be a character that I'll be showing up more than once throughout the series as someone kind of obsessed with She-Hulk. And when you go back to the exact language he uses when he's talking to her on this date,
I have to admit I was a fan before we matched. So
Yeah.
is it true? Are you indestructible? Well, what about super speed, night vision, impenetrable skin?
Yeah, my skin is impenetrable, at least with anything on Earth.
Even vibranium? What a specimen.
I would not be surprised if this is actually the villain who hired the Wrecking Crew last episode, wanting to extract some of Jennifer Walters' blood, thinking with his billionaire money that he'd be able to use it to give himself superpowers or be like Tony Stark in a way. Again, that's just a guess and me not knowing anything for sure, but I thought it was really weird that this one-off character in this episode was later given more specific details outside of the show that made me think maybe there's more to this guy. Eventually, though, She-Hulk landing with this doctor who actually seems caring and interested in her, while on the other side of LA, Donnie Blaze has opened the wrong portal, summoning all these demons, and Wong having to fix that problem and calling Jennifer Walters for help. Again, I really thought this worked out well. They're currently working on this case, they have a connection. It's a great reason for why Wong would go ahead and call up She-Hulk, try and get her to fix this, while She-Hulk is not trying to be a superhero, but she feels kind of responsible for this since it's her case. The action here wasn't anything spectacular or amazing, but there's been very little She-Hulk action these past couple of episodes. It's always kind of nice to see her smash and actually do some butt kicking. But I think more of where the heart of the show is the way the date reacts the next morning when Jennifer Walters is no longer She-Hulk and he's just not interested. That was kind of a messed up moment and it made me really feel bad for Jennifer Walters. I also thought it was kind of a great way to humanize her character and show more of her struggle, letting the episode end off with a tease to what we'll be see coming next episode, with Titania coming back into the picture because she has trademarked the name She-Hulk before Jennifer Walters, now being able to sue her for using the name. And that to me sounds like another interesting idea for an episode, because all throughout the MCU we've seen there's superhero merchandise everywhere. You can buy Iron Man 3 shoes, you can buy Captain America mask or little comic books, but I bet you the Avengers aren't seeing revenue on that. Are they public domain in the MCU? Can anyone just make that merchandise, or did just the lucky person who was like, oh, I better trademark Captain America before anyone else, is the person who gets that revenue. Just little interesting legal things that can be brought up in She-Hulk that I want to see. Also, hilarious post-credit scene. I hope it's not the last time we see Madison's character hanging out with Wong, because I like the two together. But that's just my opinion on episode 4 of She-Hulk. I really want to know from you guys. I know the show's not perfect, it's got its ups and downs, but I'm enjoying it more than most people. I see a lot of people just get angry and so mad at this show, and I'm like, have a little bit of fun, man. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3CFilms or on TikTok at 3CFilms. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.